Chapter 21, The COVID Years. (2021 to 2022), I'm now in my 80s. This decade, thus far, has been an interesting and challenging one. I've come to realize that as one ages, one must confront certain challenges. Most of them are physical limitations that slowly creep into one's physical and mental abilities. At age 88, my hearing has deserted me to the point that my hearing aids are an absolute necessity. Without them, I am essentially deaf. On the medical front, I have developed lung nodes and heart problems. More about this a bit later, and Diana's 2 trips to the hospital. To digress from my aging problems, the medical and political situation in the U.S. and the world has been significantly impacted, both by the COVID pandemic and by the advent of Donald Trumpism and Russia's invasion of the Ukraine. Joe Biden roared to both a popular and electoral college victory over Trump in the 2021 elections. Trump defied both facts and tradition and imperiled our long-preserved traditions of democracy. His instigation on January 6, 2021, resulted in a massive attack on the Capitol in an effort to upset and sabotage the legislature's confirmation of the Electoral College votes. The Trump mob breached the Capitol, sending the legislators into protective hiding. While the Trump mob disrupted the vote, the legislature reconvened and in a late-night session confirmed the Electoral College vote under the leadership of Vice President Pence, who demonstrated enormous courage, in my opinion, by defying Trump and upholding the Constitution. The underpinnings of our democracy were severely eroded by the actions of Trump and his followers. 5 people were killed in the attack on the Capitol, and many of the highly outnumbered police and Capitol Guard forces were severely injured in the insurrection. Unless Trump and his followers are exposed and punished for their insurgency and disregard for the Constitution, I fear our democratic institutions are severely weakened, and our democratic republic is in grave danger. Meanwhile, an epidemic of mass killings has infested our schools, religious edifices, and shopping centers. Reluctance on the part of the Republican Party to make changes in the gun laws for fear of losing the financial support of the NRA continually hamper effective legislation curtailing certain types of weapons that were designed for combat and not for killing children and other innocent people. It is very disheartening to this 88-year-old to see the underpinnings of our democracy so vulnerable. To top the bad news off, Russia, under Putin, has invaded Ukraine and appears at this writing, June 13, 2022, to be winning after more than 100 days of war. The USA and its NATO partners have furnished arms to the Ukrainians, but fear to provide fighter jets and more advanced long-range weapons because of Putin's hints at using chemical and atomic weapons. Both Finland and Sweden are seeking NATO membership as they fear Russian intervention. So much for the disappointing domestic and foreign situation as it appears to me. Being 88 and about to turn 89, I believe, health-wise, I've been very fortunate. Both my pulmonologist and cardiologist have played an increasingly important role in my health care. My pulmonologist has been closely monitoring me for the past 3 years. My cardiologist has referred me to a cardiac surgeon. As a result, I underwent cardiac surgery to replace my deteriorating aorta valve in my heart. The procedure was minimally invasive and is known as TAVR, or transcatheter aortic valve replacement. I had the procedure done on June 2, 2022, and was released from the hospital the next day. Peter flew in from Utah the day before the operation. He stayed at our apartment and was very helpful and supportive. He drove me to the hospital at 5:30 a.m. on the day of the operation and stayed with me until they came for me and took me to be operated on. Amazingly, the surgeon who performed the procedure, along with Dr. John Trujillo, was an Israeli who helped develop the TAVR procedure in Israel. Dr. Nivad is an internationally renowned leader in cardiac surgery, and here he was operating on me at the Adventist Hospital about 3 blocks from our residence at Riderwood Village in Silver Spring, Maryland, USA. Diana had 2 bouts with hiatal hernia attacks in the latter part of 2021 and went to the hospital, once via ambulance. She was hydrated and spent the night after each episode in the hospital. Her diet since then has been quite restrictive, but essential to controlling the problem. It should be mentioned here that both Rachel and Jimmy were extremely helpful during and after both episodes, as if concerns for Diana weren't worry enough. Driving her home from the hospital, I was involved in a car accident and wound up in the hospital via ambulance. Fortunately, Diana was not injured, and after a one-night stand, I was released and came home. Mickey's wife Sharon passed away this year. She was an avid reader and had courageously battled diabetes and kidney failure for the last few years of her life. She and Mickey sold their Durham, New Hampshire home and moved into the Lookout condominium in Ogunquit, Maine. Diana and I invested over $40,000 in refurbishing their apartment, which Diana owned, and considering Mickey's employment loss and subsequently his significant loss of income, we leased the apartment to him and Sharon at a significantly reduced price. Sharon was laid to rest in Wells, Maine, on a freezing, wet, and icy, sleety day. Although the weather was horrid, several of Mickey's basketball buddies came to support him in the extremely inclement weather, and a few of Sharon's aging lady friends from the Lookout endured the wintry weather to bid goodbye to their friend. Suzanne, Jimmy, Ian, Mickey, Bill, and I had a lunch together at the Green Leaf restaurant and later gathered in our apartment and reminisced and shared stories late into the evening. Mickey's daughter, Suzanne, my niece, was extraordinarily instrumental in making all the arrangements. As I write this segment of my biography on this 14th day of June 2022, Diana and I look forward to going to Maine in early July, the 6th and 7th, with Jimmy doing most of the driving. We arrived in Maine on the 7th of July, 2022. We were concerned with the continuing failure of the homeowner association to fix the leakage in and around our porch door. The visits from relatives were few as I recovered from my Tapir operation, but Cousin Erwin and Jan did visit, and we had a pleasant time reminiscing. We spent time with Mickey, who, as I wrote earlier, lived in the neighboring apartment. He was 90 years old, and it was a gift that we could spend time together. Suzanne and her brother Billy shipped Mickey's valuable stamp collections and memorabilia to Utah. Shortly thereafter, Mickey moved to an assisted living facility in Salt Lake. In early October, just as the fall leaves were beginning to turn, Rachel drove us home to Maryland from Ogunquit. Both Diana and I are so thankful that our children, Jimmy, Rachel, and Peter, visited and prepared meals for us. When we arrived back at our retirement community, I tested positive for COVID, and Diana tested negative. This epidemic has ravaged the world and impacted millions of lives. After being confined to our apartment for 2 weeks, we finally both tested negative and no longer required quarantine.